Welcome to the Howie Games, a man that is set to try and become champion of the world. His name is Tim Tszyu. He's a fighter of great renown. We've met 3 minutes ago. Tim, it's great to see you. How you going?
Yeah, nice to meet you, man.
How are you?
Good.
Have you
Very well.
done many podcasts or not?
Done a few. Listened to not many.
Right. Have you listened to any or not?
No, I haven't actually.
Well, I told you need to listen to Colonel Bob Sheridan on this because
I will give it a go after.
he's the boxing commentary guru.
Yeah.
Before we get rolling, that's a big earring. Tell me about that earring because everything about you strikes me as a low key character. I didn't expect.
This is something new, actually.
Is it? Is it real?
No, this thing isn't.
Right, because I was about
You know
to
what?
say.
I was actually testing it out. I was thinking, should I get one or not? So I'm testing it out for 2 days.
What's been the reception so far?
And nah.
Right, I've been reading
It's
a
not
lot
me,
about
man.
you.
It's
No,
not
what
me.
this is? I've been reading about you, and when you came in, I thought I was going to introduce him as a real low key character, a boxer, and then you've come in with half a diamond off your ear.
So I like my watches and that,
Right.
But I was in Thailand and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give this earring a go. So I gave it a little bit of a go, but I don't think I don't think it's meant for me,
Well,
man.
I think you're a bit more low key
And
than
then-
that. Maybe the bloke you're going to fight, Charlo. I could see him with one of those.
He's with one of those, but nah, not me.
Hey, mate, there's so much to talk to you about, and I don't want to focus on your father because I know it's your story. But I got to say, when you walk in here, geez, you look like your dad.
It's been told.
Well, I'll actually tell you a story. You'll tell me stories, but I'll tell you a story. As a really young journo, I worked on a show called Sports World with Channel 7, and now I feel like an old bastard because I went to the AIS with a cameraman by the name of Laz Talecki, and we spent 3 days filming your dad in the back part of his career in a training camp.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been privileged to do this for 20 years and speak to all sorts of athletes. He had 2 young Russian guys with him, and so he would start the sit-ups or the push-ups or the sparring or the running or whatever it was, and the first young Russian guy would go next to him. I guess your dad was 35, 36 at this stage. The kids were 20.
Yeah.
And when the first kid would run out of steam in whatever the exercise was, he'd get shipped out and they'd put this other bloke in.
Yeah.
And I've never seen an athlete ever in my entire time of sports broadcasting train as hard as I saw your old man that 3 days. It was one of the most impressive physical things I've ever seen, I reckon.
Yeah, I think it's his mental battles that he does with himself of not giving up
Right.
and overcoming it, and he's still the same, you know.
Is he?
Yeah, he's still the same. Like I remember during COVID times, we went live and we started doing these sit-ups, and he went through the whole exercises that he used to do, but he wouldn't give up.
Right.
And I call him the next day because I kept obviously I was gonna keep up with him, you know. He hasn't done it for a long time. I called him the next day and he's like in pain and he's just completely sore.
Cooked.
He couldn't move.
Well, it's funny you say that because the most impressive thing I saw, he did a sit-up routine. Now, if you're thinking at home, if you're doing sit-ups, most of us, there's probably only tension through our stomach in a sit-up 40% of the time because we get to the top and we rest, then we get to the bottom and rest. Your old man, because we had the camera tape and we filmed the whole thing, and he went for 18 minutes where he didn't take the tension out of his abs, and he didn't make a noise, but the sweat that was pouring, like these 2 Russian kids, they were cooked about 6 minutes in.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal. So he's still trying to
He's
do
still
that, is he?
trying to do that.
Right.
Still.
Right. Have you trained today?
Today, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So I really want to talk to you about training. There's so many things I want to talk to you about. There's a story someone told me about you early days as a young fella, and we'll get to your upbringing a bit later, but you came second in cross country?
Yeah, year 3.
I thought it might have been like year 7, year 3.
No, year 3.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, came second in year 3, and then
Yep.
I came first ever since that.
Right.
My dad said losing is not an option.
Right. So you go home and report, oh, Dad, I got the, Blues the win, Reds the second.
Nah, I
and
told him I lost.
Right. You
Well-
lost. You can come second, you lost.
And yeah,
And what did he say?
it wasn't okay. It wasn't. Hey, Dad, I came second.
Right.
Dad, I lost.
You said that in grade 3.
Yeah.
Oh, heavens above. How the old man, what did he say? Like, get up and start running?
Now you start running.
Right.
Yeah.
So did you, as a kid, get up and start running?
And then I started
What time were you running?
5:15. 5:16 was my wake up call every morning
At what age?
from year 4.
My young bloke, who you'll get a question from soon, he leaves home for school at 8:30,
Yeah.
gets up at 12 minutes past 8.
Oh,
I think
wish.
I need
I
to
wish.
get some iron into his
Yeah.
whole
And I
operation.
remember my dad actually used to make us 9 p.m. was bedtime
Right, 9 p.m. was bedtime,
Um,
and the alarm was 5:15
and
in
5:15.
grade 4.
Yeah,
And what would you do in grade 4 when you got up at 5:15?
I'd go for a run.
Right, how far running?
I didn't have back
No,
then.
but like a 5-minute run, a 10-minute run, a half-hour run?
No, it was a good run. That's
Right,
for sure. I remember it was. Yeah, it was a run with him.
right. Oh, with your dad?
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right. And then you smoked the cross country ever after that?
And then used to smack everyone then.
Well, there's a lesson to be learned. Again, we'll get back, but so we've talked about strength and conditioning. We've talked about in the ring. Do you do anything else like the modern athlete these days? There seems to be like Pilates and yoga. And do you do anything in that department?
I've started doing a lot of stretching.
Have you?
Mobility work. I've never implemented that, but yeah, I have started because the hips, they're quite stiff at times
Okay.
just through all the repetitive movements. So yeah, I've started doing a lot of that.
And what about the mental side of what you do? Like we talked about the kettlebell, but a lot of athletes these days employ sports psychs and mental picturing, imaging. Do you do that stuff or not?
I've actually I've got a mental coach now,
Okay.
mindset coach.
Tell me about that.
So I've only recently started with him, and
What do you make of it?
I feel, yeah, I feel much different. Before I felt like um I was a piece of a puzzle, and now I feel like I am the full puzzle. So a lot has changed since then, and there's just different resemblance that we use, and different scenarios. Everyone goes through different periods of time where you go through ups and downs, and it's just all about controlling yourself. And I was able to discover him, and yeah, he's helped me out with that a lot.
Explain that to me a bit more, Tim. So explain what, in your world, what being a piece of the puzzle means and now the whole puzzle. Like, explain that to me in a boxing and a life sense, I guess.
Yeah, I guess being control of your own life and destiny.
Huh.
Being able to um, be the man, be not just be the man, in control, and do what you want to do, and not what others tell you what you have to do.
And how
Yeah.
does he go about explaining and implementing that with you?
I don't know. I don't know how he does it, but I guess we've learned to somehow connect, and it's worked very well.
What does it mean for you in the ring?
We are yet to test to see.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm curious. But the way I've felt now, I've never felt before, and I don't know what it is with my training. Maybe with the Thailand trips, with what's going on. Maybe even with age and experience. Um, Again, as I said before, I feel like I am the Hulk right now.
Wow. I got a question from you. All right, let's actually before I play this one, Hulk, the other massive component of it is diet.
Yeah.
Like, talk to me about your diet during a heavy training phase. Are you good? Are you amazing? Are you ridiculous to the point where you're weighing food? Like, where does it sit for you?
You know what? It's a funny thing. When I was in Thailand, not this time, but the time before that,
Yep.
I was with these boys who were competing at that top tier championships um in like MMA, and I learned a lot from them. And basically, it was for me, I used to go hard with dieting, and then I used to just completely binge out, and I used to get fat, and then I used to again get back to it, get fat, and
Well, so after a fight,
yeah, after a fight,
binge and then
yeah, that used to
okay.
be my thing. But now for me, I've sort of created this lifestyle thing where um I eat for performance, and twice a week I'll eat rubbish, and it keeps me satisfied,
Right.
and I feel completely fine from it.
before we talk about eating for performance. Now, frequent listeners to this show, of which you are not one, but I don't take that personally, Timmy. That's okay. That's okay. Know that my kids ask a question, whoever's most engaged with the guest.
Yeah.
So I was telling them last night about we're going to have a chat with you. So you get my 10-year-old son. We'll get to your nickname too. But his name is Mac.
Mm-hmm.
A good boxing nickname he's given himself.
Yeah.
He gave himself the Big Penguin. Okay? So you ready to take the question from the Big Penguin? All right, here we go.
Hey Tim, Big Penguin here. I was watching you on Instagram when you were training and you were punching those tyres so hard and so fast. You looked so fit and so healthy. You must eat super well. Anyway, my family eats really well as well. And Dad and I were saying if there was one thing you could eat and it would be healthy, no matter what would it be? And I said vanilla slice just because I really love vanilla slice. What would you say?
So what was the question?
So the question is, you can have any food.
Legend.
You just ask him; he'll tell you. So if vanilla slices were healthy, that'd be his number one go-to.
Right.
So you can choose any food.
Yeah.
The Big Penguin wants to know any food. Doesn't matter how bad for you it is, but it's immediately healthy. What are you going for?
Ooh, a burger.
Burger.
Yeah.
So you're a burger. Well, burger's not too bad.
Yeah, still. Yeah, I know. Oh, what else? If it's a dessert,
Yeah.
I'd say an Oreo McFlurry with chocolate sauce.
Oh, now you're talking. The Big Penguin will be tuned right into that. Okay, before we get to the 2 off days, when you said you're eating for performance, what is that? Is it like bloody boiled chicken and steak and veggies, or
No, I'm not like that. But
so what's eating for performance?
I'll eat a lot of seafood.
Okay.
I'll eat a lot of fish, a lot of carbs, a lot of rice, a lot of potatoes.
Yep.
Greens. What else? Just the basics.
What's breakfast?
Usually I have smoked salmon with
Wow.
some toast
Right.
and some eggs.
And when we talked about getting to enjoy training, have you been able to start enjoying food, eating for performance, or is it just like,
Yeah.
hey, this is what I need to do?
Yeah,
You can.
yeah, I like it.
Okay.
Yeah, even if I go to a restaurant now, like I'll look at the menu and I'll see this is what's probably is the best option to eat. You
Yep.
know, rather than I'm going to get this,
Right.
this, and this.
And the days off?
And the days off, I'll during the week I'll have a burger.
Okay.
I'll have a couple hours before I sleep and have actually I'll have a burger before before I go to sleep. I'll have a couple of hours to be able to process it
Okay.
and then be able to have a bit of fruit.
Right.
That way in the morning you just digest much easier.
Yep.
And then Saturday nights I love my pizza.
I got a question for you about that later on. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. So we've sort of established where you are and how hard you're training. Growing up, like you have choices, obviously, and you're the son of one of Russia's combined greatest boxers. Why go into boxing when the immediate question is going to be you are the son of? It's like Sachin Tendulkar's son saying he wants to play cricket.
Mm.
Did you think about that?
Nah.
You didn't.
Nah, I didn't. No, I didn't. I've always sort of wanted to do whatever I wanted to do, and I'm lucky my parents let me do that. So for me, it wasn't really a concern. And growing up with the sport, I think it was a part of us. Like me and my brother, it was just built into us. You know, this is what we do.
Do you remember much of your dad fighting? Like the one that sticks in my mind, I'll ask you, the one that sticks in my mind was when he fought Zab Judah.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
I can still remember that. So do you remember his fights, but not from a boxing perspective? What's it like as a young man? Like how old were you when your dad was fighting blokes like that?
I was in probably year one.
Yeah, so you're a young kid.
Yeah, I
so
was young.
I would imagine my 10-year-old, if he saw me getting punched in the head, in all seriousness, mate, he'd be really concerned about me. Do you remember concern for your father or no?
Nah.
Really?
No. I remember having full confidence at all times, and my dad used to always say he's the king of the world. He's the best of the world. So that always gave me the confidence that, you know, he wasn't going to lose.
Right. And then when Ricky Hatton, I think it was his
that
last
the
fight,
last
wasn't
one.
it?
Yeah.
So what's it like? I presume, like my son still looks up to me. I'm sure he'll get to a point when he doesn't, but I'm still
Yeah.
in that age. You would have been.
Yeah, it was a hard time.
Was it?
Yeah, it was a hard time. It was a difficult time for the family because
But what about
um,
you as a kid?
people would pick on me. It was different. It was hard. It was just yeah. I wouldn't say I don't remember too much, but I remember it was just a difficult time.
Do you get sick of people asking you questions about your dad? Like I've noticed in your fights, you're very much like when you fought Jeff Horn, he said Tim only got this fight because of his last name.
Yeah.
And then you won the fight and you said, I just want to let everyone know that my name's Tim, not the son.
Yeah.
So is it a double-edged sword? Because early on in your career, you may not have got the opportunities you did. Now you've got where you are with talent without your dad's name. But then, as you say, you're your own man. So how do you juggle that, mate?
Yeah, it's funny because because of because of being I think it was more the expectation that people had.
Yep.
That I was supposed to be this monster as soon as turned professional.
Mm.
But everything takes time to build. You know, a Rolls Royce is built in 1 year, while a Toyota is built in what 2 weeks.
Correct.
You know, so everything took time, and I was just able to try and get that expectation off people, and I wasn't put on a platform straight away where I was fighting in front of a massive audience. I wasn't. I was on local shows.
Yep.
I fought in Toowoomba with 200 people. I fought in my local Sylvania where I live with 200 people there. You know, it wasn't like the platform was big, but it was just the expectation that people expected. But over time, with I guess consistency, training, and the mindset of being able to keep going, I've got to where I've got to.
Are you my old man moved around a lot. We spent time when I was in primary school living in Sylvania Heights. Were you a Sylvania Heights man, Sylvania Waters man, or a Sylvania man?
No, I'm in Caringbah.
Oh, you're in Caringbah.
Yeah.
Caringbah.
Yeah.
We used to play soccer against Caringbah. And you weren't into boxing at the start. You were into other sports, yeah, as a young fellow. Were you
Soccer? Yeah.
Gymnastics?
Gymnastics. I started with gymnastics.
Okay.
Yeah.
And tell me about, like we touched on it before, about getting up at 5:16 to go running in grade 4. Tell me about the discipline in your house and what the positives were and what potential negatives there were of growing up that way.
I think when Dad left after his career, it sort of changed everything because he was extreme, and then it sort of gave us freedom to explore.
What's extreme when you're a kid growing up with a dad who's a fighter and he's preparing for fights?
9 p.m. sleep time. Yeah, no such thing as. I remember my dream was always to have everyone every year at school there was a Father's Day camp. I never had one Father's Day camp.
Okay.
Father's Day breakfast, never had a Father's Day breakfast. He was never there for us. And now I think, looking back to it, I understand where he came from, because to get to where he got to, there's a lot of sacrifice. But now that he's got 2 little ones in Russia now, he's a completely different man. And when I went and saw him, the kids are running around and they're running amok, and I'm looking at him and I'm like, is this the same dad as before?
Right. So there's no 5:16 alarms going off.
Yeah, you've gone soft, man.
So when you decide, like when do you in your mind think for the first time, Dad, or of your own bat, I want to go and do some boxing training? Like, when does that start?
That's always throughout my whole life.
So you're training throughout, like with your dad or at his camps or whatever.
As soon as I was born.
Did you land one on your grandpa?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know the full story, but there was a dislocation.
Of your grandpa's jaw.
Yeah,
How old were you?
young,
Like what?
young.
Like
Like
10 or
two,
2?
yeah,
So
two.
you had the right hook
Like
early doors.
I was able to stand up.
Right. And whack your grandpa.
Yeah,
Boris.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
He's become a man you're very close to, obviously.
Very.
Good fight back after you broke his jaw as a 2-year-old or dislocated it. So what's your, before your professional fight, Tim, I'm really enjoying chatting with you.
Yeah.
What's your first amateur fight? Where was it? How many people are there? How nervous were you? What's your memories of it?
First amateur.
Yeah, like your first time you stepped in the ring.
Yeah, it was just a local show at I think it was like at a pub at a small country town.
How old are you?
What was I think it was 14.
Right. Are you getting introduced as the son of at that fight?
No.
Right, okay. So you're just another boxer.
Yeah, just another boxer. The kid was tall. I remember I was pretty nervous, very nervous. But I stopped him.
Right. Stopped him.
Yeah, stopped him in my first fight.
Okay.
I was pretty happy with that. And then I think my first 8 fights they were all stoppages.
As an amateur. Do you get
Just,
nervous?
yeah, I do get nervous, of course. I think that's part of life, but just breathing and taking it slowly. Like before a fight, of course, it's there's a lot of nerves, but yeah, just I think mainly overthinking is the problem. What if? What's it? What if? What about this? What about that? Uh, if you get rid of that, it's much more relaxing.
What about fear? Do you feel fear?
You have to feel fear.
Okay, explain that to me. I would have thought so.
Yeah, you have to feel a certain amount of fear, but that's what gets you into the zone, and even when I'm fighting, when I get into the zone, I'm a different man. And when I don't feel fear, I'm different. I'm not as alert. I'm not as concentrated. I'm not as locked in. But when I have a little bit of that feeling of that fear, I wouldn't say fear, but just yeah. I wouldn't say it's fear, but yeah, of course there's fear, but it's just a weird. So it's a different type of thing. But it's just for me, it's just getting into the zone.
Before we get to the zone, are you fearful of losing or are you fearful of getting hurt?
No.
What's the fear? What's the fear? Fearful of what if you're feeling fear?
Good question. I think fearful. Look, you win and lose in life. That's just part of life, I guess.
Mm.
I don't know what the fear is. I really don't know. And actually a funny thing I was thinking about a couple months back. The fear of getting hit in the face before sparring, yeah, and then actually getting hit is completely different. Getting hit in the face in sparring is like, okay, no worries. But the actual fear of it is, oh shit. Oh.
So the fear of it is actually worse than the actual event.
100 times worse.
Right. See,
it's the mind. It's the mind that plays a big part.
Whereas for a normal person like me, I'd be quite fearful that you could punch me in the head. But I think the end result would be worse than the fear that I've experienced. To be honest with you.
Yeah, but when you've known and done it all your life,
yeah, okay,
it's different.
And the zone? What's the zone to you, and how do you get into it?
Certain opponents, certain people, certain sparring partners, I guess, when I'm in the zone. People that have got a bit of power, and yeah, you feel like you're just locked in like that.
Your first professional fight, I've written it down here. Zoran Cassidy.
Yeah.
17th of December 2016 at the Sydney Cricket Ground.
Yeah.
What was a purse? What did you get for winning the first professional fight?
2,000.
$2,000. cash in a brown paper bag or in the bank account?
In a paper bag.
I thought that might be the case. So he comes out. He's called the Taipan.
Yeah.
Now, at that stage, you're just introduced as Tim Tszyu because I'm waiting to hear what they call you.
Yeah.
When do you get your nickname? Like the Big Penguin gave himself a nickname. What's your nickname as a fighter?
No nickname.
Well, this is what I thought. So I'd read somewhere about the Soul something or other. What's that one? What's it called? The Soul Taker. But I haven't heard you introduced as that.
No. Well, look, people. That was one of the guys from Fox Sports,
Right.
Ben Damon. He made it.
I rang him before
Yeah.
chatting with you today to find
Yeah.
out a bit more about you.
Yeah,
So he's come with the Soul
he come
Taker.
up with the Soul Taker.
Are you going with that or not?
No.
Okay, so do you need to come up with one? Do we need to workshop one? Like,
No.
okay, you're just going to be Tim Tszyu.
OG Tim Tszyu.
OG. Why OG?
I'm just saying. I'm just going to be
Oh,
original.
Okay.
Just
okay.
original.
OG. Righto. I think we
Just-
need to workshop a name. But I'm not sure what you can be. Something to do with the McFlurry. We need to work in there. It might work. So that first pro fight for $2,000. Take me back to that night because it's everything you've done is a step up. But your first professional fight, there's no headgear. You're stepping out there. Your name's on the line. What's that like?
Yeah, it was different. It was a different feeling.
Was it how?
Yeah. Just the first time getting punched.
Yep.
I was like, okay, this is different to the amateurs.
How's it different?
The gloves.
The physical.
Yeah, the
Okay.
gloves. But it was a good feeling. I had all my friends and family there. It was a good night.
How do you celebrate your first win?
Burgers. We went and burgers.
You're a burgers man.
Yeah, we went and had burgers.
And your dad was there at that fight?
Yeah.
What's it like?
It was uncomfortable because he was screaming too much.
Was he?
Yeah. Yeah.
So he hasn't traditionally been at a lot of your fights after that?
He's never been since.
So it's only that one fight. And is that
Yeah.
because you said, mate, it's too full on here?
No,
or
it's
just because where he's living?
He's got his own life now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Deeply personal question. I said to you at the start,
Yeah.
if you don't want to answer stuff, don't.
Yeah,
and we'll
yeah.
cut it out. So
Yeah.
if you don't want to answer this and it's not the right question,
Yeah.
as a young fella, how old were you when your dad moved away from Australia and away from you? And
Yeah.
what was that like? How old were you?
2008.
So how old were you then? You're only a young man then.
Yeah, I was probably in year 7,
Okay.
year 8.
So I always come back to
Yeah.
how that would affect my kids. My daughter's in year 7 now.
Yeah.
She'd be heartbroken.
Yeah.
Maybe ask her in 3 years and she'd be pumped about it. But do you mind me asking you what was that like?
Yeah,
when-
it was tough because I guess you always think that your parents it's like a fairy tale. They love each other, and then all of a sudden it's like completely gone the other way, and dad moves to the other side of the world, and
That's the bit for me. Like a lot of people have their parents split up,
yeah,
but they might be around the corner.
Yeah.
Your old man's moved to Russia, so
yeah,
like that's
yeah. But for me, it wasn't a big shock because I wasn't used to too much because he would always be in and out. After, as soon as he finished boxing in 2005, he was always in and out of Russia nonstop. So for me, it wasn't like a big shock.
Do you go and visit in Russia?
I used to.
Right.
Yeah, I
Did
used to
you
go and
did
see
you go there as a young fella for like 6 months or something?
We went there. We went there to try and live there.
How
to
old
see
were you
how it
then?
went. This was in 2000 and just before he moved there completely.
So tell me about that.
It was just a different life.
Where in Russia?
Moscow.
Okay.
Yeah, Moscow.
And I went there for the Winter Olympics
Yeah,
and I got off the plane and I thought I'd got on in Melbourne, right?
yeah,
And it was February. And it was like 38 degrees and I had thongs on.
yeah.
And as we're coming into land, I thought the pilot said, welcome to Moscow, it's minus 13. And I said to the pilot next to me, minus 13? He's like, mate, he didn't say minus 13, he said minus 31. And like, when the
Wow.
doors open, it was like getting
Yeah,
punched in the
yeah,
face. Like
yeah.
it was like getting punched in the
Yeah.
face by,
It's like a slap.
like a slap in what I'd imagine is getting smacked by you. So how was it as a young fellow all of a sudden going to Moscow? Like, what are your memories of that? Like, a great life experience.
Yeah, it was good. We went to a Russian school.
Right.
Yeah,
You obviously speak Russian?
yeah, fluent.
So you speak it at home?
Read, write. Well, I speak it with my grandparents.
Okay. So
Yeah.
how would you say in Russian, I'm Tim Tszyu, and my favourite podcast is the Howie Games. How would you say that in Russian?
Меня зовут Tim Tszyu, и мой самый любимый подкаст – это Howie Games.
Nice, brother, nice. So you go to your Russian school. How was it? You're the new kid. I've been the new kid at a lot of schools, but
Yeah.
with the same language. How's that?
It was different because I wasn't the new kid, just the new kid. It was I was the Kostyazu's son.
So they know your dad.
Oh, everyone knows.
Is it? Tell me about that. Tell me about that.
It was a shock, you know, in Australia here where everyone's the same, gets treated the same way, you know. There it was different. We had drivers. Me and my brother had our own like driver 24/7.
Nice.
At school we get treated differently. We didn't have to do this. We didn't have to do that. It was a different life. And I remember when we first came back, we didn't have any friends. You know, we used to come back home. The weather was completely crap. It was cold all the time, snowing, and you don't see the sun. You live in apartment complexes, and just the life was just not something we're used to. I guess there was luxurious parts in terms of having drivers and this and that. But for us, when we came back home and just going with friends, catching a bus, just catching a bus to the cinemas, and just hanging out and talking the language that we were used to was the best thing. I just remember that feeling. I was like, you know what? I told my mum, I'm like, well, we can't go back.
It'd be nice if you could have brought the driver back. Yeah, right.
It wasn't. No.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't want that.
Right. You just wanted to be normal.
We wanted to be normal. We didn't want that life.
Huh. So how?
Because we weren't brought up with that life.
So how big?
That life was never for us in Australia. In Australia, we're not brought up with this type of stuff. We're not used to drivers. You don't hear about that type of stuff, or bodyguards and having special privileges where we're all the same in Australia.
If I sit down with you in 10 years' time and I say, Tim, congratulations on a bloody phenomenal career, what is that career?
A lot of victories, but a lot of, I guess, I want to inspire a lot of people to do what they want to do, to do what they love to do. You know, a lot of people get stuck in this world and they get lost. And my belief is, do what you love to do.
You know what, Tim? That is the right answer.
Yeah.
No, it is. From someone that's a little bit older than you.
Yeah.
And I don't say it to be a dick if it's like money and success and fame. The answer you've just given is why I hope you have a tremendous amount of success.
No, thank you.
I really do, because it's a great answer. How old are you?
27.
It's a great answer for a man of 28 with the world at his feet. We always finish this show along those lines. For all the kids out there that listen with their mums and dads that want to be boxers or cricketers or scientists or rock stars, what advice would you give them that you've learnt along the way from your journey to achieve success in their chosen field, mate?
Consistency. And if you want to do it, don't give up on it, no matter what, and stay consistent.
And you've been very open here. It's been quite a in-depth chat. What's it been like talking about yourself?
I usually don't talk too much about my life, actually.
No, I know you don't, so that's what I'm saying. What's it been
tell
like?
me, usually the questions are, how you feeling and how you feeling for the fight. So, yeah, I guess it's nice to actually let people know, you know, this is who I really am, I guess.
A man that wears an earring that doesn't really want to wear an earring.
But you never know.
You never know.
You never know.
You never know.
It might grow into me. So
I'm sticking with it if I'm you.
My missus is sort of like, nah, you're not doing it. And now she's like, oh, maybe you should get it. So we'll see. My best mate's a jeweler, so
okay. I
can sort it out.
How does your partner go when you're getting punched in the head for a living?
She's got full belief in me.
Does she?
Yeah.
Wow.
She's got full belief in me. So I'm blessed to have her. and she's the rock in our relationship.
I've got full belief in you as well, mate. Good luck
Thank you.
representing yourself, your family, and your country.
Yeah.
Main event. Just before I let you go, what does it mean to represent your country?
Everything, I was talking about this before, and it's mm, that more motivation I've got now. Before it used to be, oh, I can't stuff up. I got my friends, my family. Now I've got a whole country around me, and a whole country will be on their feet when the four belts come back home.
They will. You'll be fated. If you need a Howie Games hat to wear into the ring or anything like that, you let me know. We can sort you out with some merch. In all seriousness, mate, I loved your answer about trying to inspire people. Good luck. So many people will be cheering for you.
Yeah.
Pleasure to meet you, mate.
Appreciate it.
Go
man.
well.
Thank you.
Well done, mate.
Thank
Ta.
you.